Sandip Sen, a visionary CEO, is a social entrepreneur and a veteran in the ITES domain with over 25 years of experience. He started his career with the UB Group, followed by a pioneering stint in the head of marketing and network head at Hutchinson Telecom India. Prior to Aegis, in 2001, he founded the Customer First Services, one of India's leading CRM companies, and supported several blue-chip companies in India in the telecom, banking, retail, hospitality, and technology segments. In 2006, Customer First Services was acquired by Aegis. He contributed exponentially to the Aegis growth story as a market maker and brand builder, and over the years has engineered spectacular success chapters for Aegis. He has been instrumental in building the company's global business across countries like India, the US, South Africa, Australia, Philippines, and the UK. From less than USD 60 million revenues, his strategic insights and execution capabilities helped architect Aegis into a USD 1 billion company with over 55,000 employees across 13 countries from 85 nationalities. He has an honours graduate in economics from Presidency College, Kolkata, and has a Master of Business Administration from our very own XLRI Jamshedpur. With over 2 decades of customer-centric expertise in consumer, telecom, and BPO sector, he is a forward-looking thinker who has led a radical business transformation for Aegis through his intellect, professional expertise, and experiences. He is currently the global CEO of Aegis Limited and SR Enterprise. I would like you all to welcome Sir on stage with a warm round of applause. Mr. Sandip Sen has been an exceptional achiever and has contributed immensely to the industry. We would like to present him the Synergy Excellence Award for making XLRI proud. Can I please call on stage Professor Saras Sharif to present this award?
I think your topic was rapid disruption. Therefore, I've taken that topic and I've used a term called digital Darwinism which I've explained by saying how organizations are evolving for the future. And when we say future, we're talking about future with rapid disruptions. I thought I'll take a second and tell you a little bit. the next slide. I thought I'd start with explaining a little bit of Aegis before we come to this whole issue of disruption. Aegis is the company that I head up. We currently have about 40,000 people in 46 sites, doing about 200 clients and what we call millions of moments of truth. Just the background, and that gives some idea of this disruption that I talk about. Aegis was a struggling company in about 2004. About $60 million in revenue, doing about $16–17 million of loss. So our parent company, the SR Group, said, we want to get into this BPO business. We are a company which is in oil and steel. So how do we get into a business which is more contemporary, modern, and we got over this company. A struggling company based in Dallas, Texas. Now the conventional wisdom was that when you take over a company and you're in the outsourcing business, you will outsource everything to India. But what we realized was this Aegis, while it was a struggling company, it had great clients. So if I give an analogy by saying, look, it makes good cakes, but it had a very poor storefront. So it had a good bakery, but it didn't have a great storefront. So we said we will invest in front-facing activities. We will invest in activities like sales, like customer relations, like account management in the US. So we said we will invest more in front-facing activities, and what we will kind of offshore is what we call the BPO for a BPO. So we will offshore the back end, the finance and accounts and things like that. Thereafter what we did, so we met this US thing, and then we said, look, we need a good delivery center, we need back end, and we made a couple of acquisitions in India. And one of the companies that I had started those days was Customer First, which Aegis acquired, and that's how I came into Customer First. So we then had the US, the front end, we had the back end in India. And we realized that if we're going to get US customers, we need a lot of other geographies, Philippines being one of them, because Philippines is a major geography for US customers. So we made another acquisition, whereby we acquired centers in Philippines and Costa Rica. And therefore now we had an onshore in the US, we had an offshore in India and Philippines, and we had what we call a nearshore in Costa Rica. And that's how we've grown as a result of both organic growth and acquisitions. Then we wanted to do the entire English-speaking world, so we made acquisitions in Australia, South Africa. We organically grew in the UK. And then we said, once we've done the English-speaking world, the next biggest in terms of size, geography, market is Spanish, and then we were in Argentina and Peru. And that's really how you see how we have kind of grown. And over a period of time, because of acquisitions, because of growth, we grew to be $1 billion company. In 2014, we did 2 deleveraging. We sold our technology company called AGC because that was not growing at the same rate as we were. We were trying to look at the value of the company. And we also sold our US assets to another company called Teleperformance at a very high valuation, at a very high what we call multiple of EBITDA. Thereafter, we were trying to focus on the Asia Pacific region. So we have centers like Malaysia, centers in Saudi, and we've grown the business in Asia and Pacific. And this is what you see today. So we really have, between 2006 and 2016, among the highest rates of growth of the BPO. And what we focus on, as you said, is both voice, non-voice, as well as a lot of new technology and applications like social mobile applications and cloud. And some of them will be related to disruption, which I will speak to you. And one of the reasons why we have been so successful is that we've always had an approach which is very entrepreneurial. We wanted to kind of be agile, to collaborate with customers, to be flexible, apart from the fact that we've always had very long customer relationships, a lot of focus on quality and consistency. So that's really the Aegis journey, a journey we used to call from bankruptcy to billions. Bankruptcy because when we acquired the company in 2005, it was virtually a bankrupt company losing $16–18 million a year, to the fact that we became about $1 billion in 2014, and now having sold, we are roughly about $500 million. But I don't want to bore you with that. I just want to give a background, because some of what I'm going to talk about Aegis is related to disruption, and a lot of what you will hear about me saying is also related to what we're doing as far as Aegis is concerned. Okay, and now we come to your whole disruption thing. What is disruption? I thought there was no better way to take a quote from Charles Darwin, because he's the guy who, and because my topic is something called digital Darwinism, and I explain what it is. And what Charles Darwin says, that it is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. It's not necessarily the strongest guy, the most intelligent guy, it's the most adaptable guy. And that's the guy who can manage change. That's the guy who will survive. And digital Darwinism is a term given by an American theorist and American marketer called Brian Solis, who says, when technology and society change faster than companies. You know, organizations are trying to adapt, but what happens when technology and society changes faster, changes at a better pace, changes at a more furious pace? That's when you have this problem of digital Darwinism. And one example, and there are many, obviously the Fortune 500 list was in 1955, 430 companies, almost 500 are not there, and that is happening. In fact, if you look at every 10 years, the rate of change in the Fortune 500, just as one example, you can take S&P 500, you can take any other, is changing rapidly. What it means is that if you were great 100 years back, it doesn't mean that you will be there today. Why? Because you've not been able to adapt, would be one reason. No, disruption is really speeding up. And these are just examples I put just to illustrate what we are saying. One example could be your books. You know, the Gutenberg Bible was about 573 years ago. And the Kindle, so from the Bible to the Kindle, it took about 573 years. So from the printed matter to something at hand. But look at how things are changing. How this disruption is getting smaller and smaller. You know, from magazines to the Apple iPad. The latest one could be from, what should I say, let's take the music one. From the record to the CD to iTunes and to an application like Spotify, many of you use them. These have become smaller and smaller. So instead of taking hundreds of years, they're taking 20 years, 30 years, 5 years. That's the pace at which disruption is happening. And you can look at any examples which shows that the disruption curve is changing. And something that you guys are obviously doing as part of your studies is that, I'm sorry, I don't know what's the problem, but these should come slightly better. On your screen it's not coming as good. But on the left is the standard adoption model that you know, the guys who are the early adopters, the early majority and all of that. But look at the actual disruption curves. I don't know how much you can read. This is the US example. These are actual disruption curves. The older ones, which are more gradual, were the car. The car is 100 years old, from Henry Ford's Model T to the aeroplane to, for example, electricity. But look at these disruption curves. These are the mobile phone, these are the internet. So what this shows is the number of years that these have been invented. The car has been invented for 100 years, the aeroplane for about 80 years. And this is the number of ownership in America. The top is 100%, the bottom is 0%. So for example, the car is 100 years, the ownership level in America today is about 80-85%. But the mobile phone or the smartphone, maybe 10 years, the disruption is 70%. So what this shows is the rate of disruption is getting much higher. The rate of disruption in the earlier examples of a car or an aeroplane or electricity or the normal telephone, which you call the plain old telephone system, it takes 70, 80, 90 years for a majority of people to use it. But if you look at the modern ones like internet or mobile phone, it's far, far higher. And that's really the whole disruption that we are talking about. So it's in fact a revolution. Why do I say this whole disruption, this whole technology is a new revolution? Look at the old ones. The first one was the agricultural revolution, where what you did is that man was nomadic, hands to agriculture, he became settled. So that's the first revolution. Obviously there was writing and printing, which gave this whole knowledge that we're talking about today. Then came the industrial revolution. The industrial revolution was where you used the spinning jenny, power looms, and you really built up the industry that we're known today. And this one is the internet, the mobile, the computing revolution. So this disruption that we're talking about is being driven by
mobile revolution. And why it is so? What has been that in the last 10 years there has been so much disruption that we're talking about? It is the internet, but much more than the internet, it's the ecosystem which has happened. And what is that ecosystem we're talking about? Okay, I just got an example. This is from a book I was reading, and this is US 2014, which shows that the internet is absolutely omnipresent. We all know that. But I was loving some of these examples and I decided to put it, and now the numbers will be much more, which says 95% of people use an electronic device for an hour before going to bed. Over 90% sleep next to their cell phone. 60% of people text while driving. So it shows how ubiquitous this is. Everybody is using it. There's a number which has gone up. How many people use mobile phones in their bathrooms? So we are really talking about something which is really, really spreading. But what has happened? Yes, the internet is omnipresent. Everybody uses it. Why is it a revolution? Why is it causing disruption? And the reason it is causing disruption is because of the ecosystem which has happened. You have the internet now for 20, 25 years. But now what you have the mobile phone. So you have internet at the hand, internet at everybody's thumb, so to say. And then you have social networks. So you have the internet, you have the mobility, you have the mobile phone, and then you have social networks, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. And then you have computing, which can give billions of data allowed to be computed. As a result of this ecosystem, as a result of the confluence of all of that, you've got now a revolution, because whether it's a Uber app or whether it is any of the millions of apps we're using on, it is a confluence of all that. It is the net, it is the mobile that you have in your hand, it is the social network that you're using, and it is the ability to compute billions of terabytes of data. And that is what is leading to this disruption that we're talking about. And these are some hard numbers. Just to put some numbers, these are 2015 numbers. I think the 2016 numbers will come sometime here, which says that the world population is about 7 billion. The active internet users are about 3 billion. The social media is about 2 billion. Unique mobile is 3.6 billion, etc. Now look at that, and look at that with your disruption. Half the world's population have unique mobile phones. So if you look at hard numbers, these numbers tell you that this is really something which is now the most ubiquitous thing. 60% of the people having mobile phones, 55% having social media connections. And if you look at the 2016 numbers which haven't come out, so there was some discussion I was seeing in a magazine, these numbers are going up dramatically. So these are hard numbers to show why the digital mobility is taken over. And another example, and all of us have mobile phones and all of us take photos, and this is obviously the reason for the depth of the normal camera, the Kodak camera, etc. Look at digital photographs. The digital photographs have really gone up leaps and bounds they were about 177 per person. You don't see the numbers there. This was 322 per person last year, and 255 billion photographs. So if you're going to take 255 billion photographs on your digital phone, what will happen to the poor cameras and the guys who didn't have that? So that's the spread of this revolution. And I just put these numbers to show that we all talk about it, but it's not hype, it's exact numbers that's happening. So we talked about disruption, we talked about success strategy in the age of disruption. So what about the companies which are not successful? What about the companies which have not been? We've got to take a lesson out of them, and these are examples, of course. The one you see on your left is Borders, which is a bookshop. Whether it's Borders or Barnes & Noble's, a bookshop. Kodak, of course, is the camera company. Nokia is the phone company. Nokia is interesting because for a while I used to work in Hutchison Telecom, and for many years, as a matter of fact. And if you look at Nokia from 2006 to 2012, they were selling more than 6 million phones a month in India. 6 million is more than the population of Finland, from where Nokia comes from. So in India, they are adding actually 1 Finland a month. That was a success. But obviously, this whole disruption, smartphones, not understanding where the new trends are going, means that Nokia is not there. So that's a live example of somebody which was successful not just worldwide, but very, very successful in India, are not there. The other examples that I've got are very standard examples, but the reason to give these is to reinforce the fact that we are really in an age of disruption. The one on the left is Encyclopedia Britannica. I remember when I was young, my parents spent a lot of money and bought this, which used to cost some 10,000–12,000 rupees. Now, obviously, today with the Wikipedia and all the information on that, I was just speaking to somebody who sells Encyclopedia Britannica. They used to sell the hard volumes, then they sold the CD, and now they stopped the whole company. Right? Travel, of course, is another example where the travel agent has completely been replaced. And we are the largest partners worldwide for Expedia. So we've seen how the travel business has been completely taken over by this digital storm. I mean, you still have a little bit, but $74 billion last year was the increase of travel on e-commerce platform alone. What are the other things getting disrupted? Of course, e-commerce. Again, I can speak from knowledge because we do a lot of work for Flipkart and Amazon. And what they're really looking at in e-commerce is not the fact that it is cheap. It is cheap today and it's enticing you to buy. But they're looking at what they call as customization of one. They're trying to say that they will use you as an individual, and they're working with chunks of big data to say what you like. So you will find today on Amazon and Flipkart, they say, look, you want this, people who saw this, etc. But they want to come to a position where they can identify things that you like and things that you want, apart from the fact that it's convenient and it's cheap, etc. Now this obviously is disrupting the whole business. I mean, Flipkart, when we started working for them, used to sell, they used to do about 5 crores a year, and Flipkart in this big billion sale, today sold over $1 billion, and this year they will do about $7 to $8 billion of revenue. But their whole aim is that you want to get the customer, but you want to understand the customer, and can you have mass customization, unique customization? That means you can sell a product to a customer based on what he wants. The one on the top is banking. Obviously, the first phase of banking was from brick and mortar to ATMs, and now, of course, you're doing everything on banking through the phone or through the internet, whether you send money, etc., etc. And the big wave that we've seen in the past is mobile banking, money transfer through banking. Kenya, there's something called M-Pesa, which was very successful, and now you're doing that in India in a big way. So that's the other. Education. Obviously applies to institutions like Excel, etc. Now you can have the best courses online. The Khan Academy is a good example. And now places like good universities like Harvard, etc. are trying to do online courses because you've got to kind of meet the challenge of disruption. So these are all examples, of disruption. Now the point is, why is this disruption happening, and what does it mean for us, and what are the lessons we can take out of it? Well, one of the reasons, of course, that we're seeing is that generations have been able to think differently. Generations which created the industrial revolution thought differently, and today digital generation thinks very differently. This is an example of Henry Ford, of course, and who introduced the Model T much ahead of its time. And he said, somebody asked him, that, look, why are you spending so much money? Why didn't you ask people what they want? And he said, if I ask people what they want, they would tell me, get me faster horses. And this is exactly the answer that Steve Jobs has given many years later when he talks about that I've not asked the people, but I'm trying to think differently. And today, obviously, from that Model T, you have self-driven cars that Google is doing, that Elsa is doing, etc. So you are having a completely different thought. And this is true of various generations where these revolutions have happened. But people have thought differently. And today, of course, these are the guys, and I'll take one or two examples of people that we do work with. Is obviously you've got Uber, you've got Google, you've got Facebook, Apple, Airbnb, Tesla, etc. And this is the generation which is thinking very, very differently. And this is the generation which is looking at how do we disrupt consumers. And whenever there's a disruption, there is going to be a change. So people don't like change, people will oppose change. So there was this set of people who were called Luddites. Luddites were people who were afraid of the industrial revolution, afraid that they would lose their jobs, and they would start smashing machines, they would start smashing factories. And the same thing that you see is the opposition to Uber, for example, in many cities and many countries. And that's exactly because disruption and change is not something that you immediately can get used to it. And first you fight change, and then if the change is too rapid, it's too important that you accept it. Now, from a marketing point of view, obviously what we've seen is that social media does empower all of us. I mean, in today's world, a customer that we are, A, we know more, B, we have more choices, we have more information. So, this whole thing that we say that customer is king, customer is genuinely a king now. But what does it mean? What it means for companies, what it means for brands today, is that when you're talking about a brand, and Professor Sandip is here, but one of the things today, in today's social media thing is that one of the meaning of the brand is what our experience of that is and what we are sharing. So just to give an example, we do some social media work for Samsung and the Samsung S7, and all of us have known what it is. Now what people are talking about the Samsung S7 is defines what's happening to Samsung S7. That's the brand which has become. It's not what Samsung is doing, it's not the message it's saying, it's not the advertising, which it was many years back. It would be great ads from Procter & Gamble and Unilever, etc. to define the brand. Here, consumers' shared experiences are defining the brand. And that's the big change that we are seeing now. That's the big change that we are seeing in this age of disruption. And just a continuation of that, this is some statistics I got, I thought I'll put it. This is again pertaining to 2015, by saying that brands obviously need to be social. And you know these answers, but I'm just putting some numbers, because the old model of this communication was very linear. By saying the message, the interaction, the experience was given by the brand, given by the company. But today it's the social. And if you look at, this is data for the US, that 70% of, this was about 12,000 consumers who were asked in the survey by AC Nielsen, 70% said they are influenced by the peer community. And I know that because when I'm going on travel, I will look at TripAdvisor and I'll find out whether the place is good or not. So if 70% is influenced by peer community, that's very important. Brands have to be social. The other one will say that some 65% learn about the brands or offerings from social media, from the internet. And always, sometimes the question is asked, I think, where did you hear about us? What did you hear about us? Well, this is from social media. And obviously the fact is that the population today is a young population. India, of course, is a case in point, but a large part of the world population is under 30, close to 50%. And the other data, and this is again American data, but I'm sure it can be extrapolated, is that very few of these younger people trust ads. Very few of TV ads generate ROI, and very few people watch the ads. Many of them skip it, or there's a technology in the US called TiVo that you can play that episode later on. And that's the importance of social media, because people are not trusting traditional media. People are depending on what peers say. People are getting information about products and services about social media. Then it's very important that brands need to be social. And the other thing which is very important in this whole digital age to be successful is that you've got to collaborate. In the previous world, people would work in silos, companies would do their own R&D. Today, there are two kinds of collaboration that's happening. One is that you're collaborating with each other. We, for example, are collaborating with a lot of startups, because startups have the energy, the expertise, and we have the network and the connections. There is internal collaboration across disciplines, across geographies, because this is an inter-collaboration, and you will find this today, even among technology companies. Which was unheard of, was two technology companies are collaborating with each other, partnering with each other, because that's what we need to do to prevent yourselves getting disruptive, or to be able to ensure that you're able to adapt in this world. So one of the biggest risks, you can do something right, you can do something wrong, you can try again, but one of the biggest risks is doing nothing. One of the things I wanted to say is that I've given you a lot of examples, I've given you some of the data, and I'm saying that, and this is some of the learning that I've had, is by saying, what's this evolutionary paradigm in this age of disruption? Why is it necessary for us to do what we have to do? Well, the first thing, of course, we're saying is that, look, we're moving from a product to a service-oriented culture. And the best example of that are airlines. I mean, all airline companies have the same aircraft, Airbus or a Boeing. And not only do they have the same aircraft, they have the same model, a 747 or a 737, etc. It's exactly the same. But why would you say Singapore Airlines and Emirates is better? Because you move to a service paradigm. The other whole thing is the movement from customer satisfaction to customer experience. I mean, satisfaction is passive. Satisfaction means, are you satisfied? Yeah, I'm not unsatisfied. And I'll give you a good example of this experience. But now we're really talking about customer experience. I mean, Starbucks is a customer experience. The other thing, of course, is technology was a supporter. We used to use technology. But today, technology in some cases has become a key driver. All of you who are using the Uber app know that it is a technology-led product. It's the technology which has defined the product. It has made the product simple to use, easy to use. So technology is no longer a supporter, it's a driver. Obviously, the movement from transaction to relationship, the best example is all the work that we do for e-commerce companies. We did, Flipkart was giving us some numbers, and they said today if you go to Flipkart and you buy twice or thrice, and then you stop buying, they've lost a lot of money for you. A, because they give you the products initially cheap, there is a huge cost of distribution, of marketing, etc., etc. If you buy some, they've got some formula. to tell you, but if you buy only after so many times, so you buy 10 times, or 12 times, or 15 times, that's when they make money. If that's the case, that's when they make money, then it has to be a relationship. It can't be a transaction, because if you've gone after the transaction, then they've lost money and you never get any money. Process-centric, customer-centric, very, very important. In our own BPO business, in our own outside call center business, in our own customer care business, for many, many years what we did is that, if we had to evaluate a call, we had a big checklist, and we evaluate a call based on all the parameters of the checklist. What's the agent polite? Did he say yes? Did he say thank you? Etc. etc. And then you tick mark and you say that, look, yeah, the guy has done what he's done. Today we are saying, look, is the customer happy? Did his problem get resolved? The agent may have been the politest guy, he may have said all the right things, and you might have marked it 80, 90 or 100 on that tick box. But if the customer was not satisfied, if his problem was not resolved, then it doesn't matter. And that's that whole movement of moving out from processes. A lot of companies, very good in processes, Accenture, etc. But now the whole movement is from process to customer. Process is fine because the customer happy, we resolve this problem. Asset focused to knowledge focused. Obviously, the whole impact is on knowledge. Why do you think Facebook got, or why do you think WhatsApp got bought at the price it got? There's no asset. It's knowledge. In fact, Mr. Narayan says that the only assets I have are people, and they go home every evening, and I don't know if they're coming back next morning. So the whole focus, obviously, is a knowledge economy, is a digital, data-led knowledge economy, and you're moving. And obviously, the round world, the flat world, this is Tom Friedman's book. But all of this is what companies need to understand. And you can look at any company which is successful, understand some of these parameters, understand the fact that customer experience, technology is key. It has to be customer-centric. The focus has to be knowledge. And if you don't, and you can take examples for lack of time, I'm not going into every detail, but the ones which have failed in many of these parameters have been on the other side. And this example was something that I adapted many years back. This is, you want to buy some coffee. So you buy some coffee beans and you have some good filter coffee machine at home, and you buy it, and we've actually done some of the cost. The cost of a cup of coffee is about 90 paise. And then you say, no, I want to go and buy some Nescafe or brewed coffee or whatever, and there is $4 for a cup of coffee if you divide the packet of coffee by the number of cups you can make. And then you say, I want to go to a local place where I want to have a cup of coffee, place near a house, 2-3 kilometers, nice kilometers, some coffee joint. You pay 10, 15, 20, 25 bucks. In Starbucks, at least in Bombay, now you pay 155 bucks for the coffee. So the same coffee which you can buy for 90 paise, good filter coffee at home, and people who are from the south can make super filter coffee. You're paying 155 rupees from 90 paise. But why are you doing it? Because in your mind, you've moved from, you've gone from you've really gone from an experience, from a commodity. Coffee was a commodity, from a commodity to an experience. You said, this is the experience that I want to pay for. Or you move from a transaction to a full-fledged interaction. This is just one example. You can look at millions of examples by saying that if I can focus on customer experience, if I can experience bit right, I will A, have loyal customers, and number two, I have people who are willing to pay a premium. And really, this is partly it's a corollary of the first one. And I'm going to give you some Aegis examples by saying how the enterprise is moving. Do we know what's happening? One is, who are our clients today, who will be our clients tomorrow? I mean, traditionally we've had, for example, in the BPO business, a lot of telecom and financial services clients. These are the big guys who outsource. But today, our big clients could be e-commerce clients, right? So the clients are changing. The movement of clients is changing. Do we know that? Do we understand that? Our clients like Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, Napco, and they've got huge, work for us. What are our service models today? What will be the models in future? Typically, the models in our case have been on an FT basis. That is, for every person you pay X, we used to call it bumps on seats. Now the whole model is changing. Customers are saying we will pay for outcomes. We'll give you more control. Can you do A to B to C for us? And depending on the outcome that comes in, we'll pay for you. So the whole model has changed. So if you're stuck in the old model, you will have trouble. Who are our competitors today? Who will be our competitors tomorrow? I remember reading this in 1989, I think in the professor's class. Theodore Levitt, marketing myopia, by saying, who's the competitor to Coke? You might mix Pepsi, but there are many others. And today, in any case, we look at data. the Gatorade of the world, the health drink, etc. So for us also, the nature of our competition is changing rapidly. If we were just targeting other competitors, 3 or 4 known competitors, we might just get sidelined because there are people who are doing analytics, who are doing social media, who are doing a lot of stuff, who are actually taking a business, who can take away business from us. Where are the margins coming from today? Where are the margins coming from tomorrow? Margins are changing. Like I said, our model was that you pay on an FT basis, you pay X rupees per person. Today everything is changing. There is so much work happening in analytics. Again, I'll give you an example. A lot of the analytics that we do is what we call descriptive analytics. You just analyze what's happened at the MIS and you find out whether things happen right, wrong, what you need to do. From that, what has come is called predictive analytics. Can you predict? So we've got a lot of top insurance companies as our clients. And one of the things which is very important in insurance, particularly close to motor insurance and health insurance, because motor and health insurance every year you can get, it's renewable yearly, unlike life, which is long term. And therefore, it's very important for that the customers stay for a longer time. But you can use the data, you can use the analytics to predict churn, saying which of these customers will move, which of these customers have a higher propensity to move. And how you therefore, as a result of that, try to get more persistency. That is how you get people to win. So what we have done is looked at data for the last 10, 12 years, looked at people who churn depending on age, income, region, the size of ticket, and the whole aim is that, look, can we get more people to remain? That is going to give us more margins, rather than doing the normal growth that we're doing, which is of course there. So the question is, where will our margins be? What makes us unique today, what makes us unique tomorrow? Apart from doing a lot of work that we do in customer care, we have a social media product called Lisa, which is a very powerful product. We do a bunch of analytics. I talked about predictive analytics, where we're predicting churn, but then you go one step ahead and you do what is called prescriptive analytics. So once you've been able to predict, how do you mitigate it? What do you do? If you say, these are the guys who are going to churn out, what do you need to do to keep them consistent? And therefore, it's important that we continue to remain unique. We continue to do stuff which makes us different. Now, there are different stages of transformation. What we've done in Aegis follows some of this. It's not what is exactly, but I thought therefore I'll put it. You see, for us also, we were a very traditional, 20 years back, we were what is called a call center company. I mean, guys know what a call center company is. It takes calls and answers questions, etc. Today, we've become a digital-led company. And how did this transformation happen? I mean, obviously, initially it was business as usual. I say, yeah, we're doing well, we're growing, we're acquiring, we're becoming $1 billion, all that's fine. But then we realized that business is changing. The disruption, all of that I spoke is happening. We ourselves can get disrupted. And therefore we said, let's do a pilot, let's understand what we need to do. And then we formed what is called a cross-functional team and says, what are the things that customers are looking at? What are the things that we need to do? And having formed a cross-functional team, we then had a separate division which was focusing on digital innovation. And that has now become the norm. And if you read at the bottom again, I don't know what's the issue with this. It's a little thing, but if I give you the thing, you read the exact thing. It really talks about that process. And let me give you a good example. We are in the realm of customer care. We are in the realm of customer satisfaction. Today, if you go by Jet Airways, they will give you a customer care form in the flight and they will ask you to fill it. It happened to me last night, and I fly very Jet Airways very often. And that customer care form is about 22 questions. And it takes a lot of time. So yesterday actually, so every time I start giving some excuses by saying I'll do it next time or I don't have a pen because it's very long and wrong. The other thing where I travel often is Taj Hotels, and they will give you a customer care form about 7 to 10 days after you travel. In those 10 days you will have hundreds of emails and you will find it very difficult to answer. And I have a friend in Taj and he says that the response rate is less than 1%. So the whole question is why are we wasting time doing such a case where the response rate is 1%. So, and I gave you 2 examples of Jet and Taj because these are supposed to be good customer companies. What we did is we said, look, this is our job, this is our lead thing, it's customer satisfaction. Can we digitize the whole thing? Can we disrupt by doing this? So what we did is that we partnered with a startup called Litmus, so we have some equity in that company. And what Litmus has done is that they have done the whole thing, they've digitized the whole thing. As example, we work with companies in the quick service business, in the retail business. So whether it's a Domino's or is it a Landmark or a Lifestyle. So what happens is that if you shop at any of these places or you've eaten at Domino's, and then you go to pay. So when you're paying by a credit card, or in some of these cases you have a loyalty card, which is all linked to the database. So when you're paying, you get a hyperlink on your smartphone by saying thank you for shopping with Landmark or Lifestyle or whatever it is. We value your patronage very much. And can you just answer a few questions, which will take exactly 2 minutes. And we've timed it. It is 2 minutes. And because we know that if it's 2 minutes, the guy says that we do. And the other thing is that when he has to answer this form, he doesn't have to write anything. He just uses his index finger. And he then actually has a scale from -5 to +5. So he uses index finger, and if it's very bad, it's -5. If it's very good, it's +5. And we made it interesting and funny, so it's ouch or terrible if it's -5, +5, it's got, so that. But this process is intuitive. So if he's raised -5, then immediately there's a drop-down menu which asks a few more questions by saying, look, you hated it, you found it terrible, tell us a little more. And at the end, it has got some space for you to give some comments if you do want to, in about 100 characters. But the whole aim is to make it very simple, to make it real time, and to make it interesting, and so that you don't spend more than 2 minutes. And what we're doing also is that not just we do it real time, we also are able to answer back in real time if we can do something. So you ask something and we answer immediately. That is customer experience. That is solving the customer problem. And our whole interest was that can we get the response rate up to 50-60% from the 1% example I gave you on touch. Now, because a lot of these places are in malls today, what we've done is that we, and then say that, look, and thank you so much for doing it, and we know you're spending 2 minutes, and by the way, we'll give you 50% off at Starbucks, if you answer that. And the Starbucks, because it's a mall, it's just down the hall, so it's 50 yards from here. So the guy said, okay, I'll have a Starbucks and I'll answer it. And we've got response rates up to 50-60%. So what therefore we've done is this whole customer experience is no longer a sheet of paper, it's digitized, it's immediate, it's real time, it's answered real time. One of our clients is a mobile store, which is a company owned, which is a brand owned by a parent company which has 600 mobile stores in India, which is actually the largest organized mobile store company. And he's got stores across the country. And we've instituted this in all his stores. And the CEO of that company, who is a good friend of mine, he said, look, Sandip, come one day. I've got a Tuesday meeting. And he's got a Tuesday meeting with the executive committee. And what he does is that he just puts this data on the wall. So he's got data on 700 stores. He's got real-time data whether his customers like that store, hate it, etc., etc. The ones that are very good can be highlighted in terms of regions, etc., all the details. And then he can further get into classifications of what's the age group, what's the gender, who liked it, who didn't, etc. And he says, look, I run my company through your application. Because my store managers may not give me the information, right or wrong, but I've got customer feedback instant. And he said, this is to me my most important thing of running the store, and obviously now we've all got smarter, so we correlate this to same store sales by saying if your customer sat is very good, hopefully your sales is good, and so on and so forth. So this is an example of digitizing the entire customer service. This is an example of digital transformation. And now we call this product Litmus. We're talking to ICICI Bank. I was in Australia till Friday. We've got 2 clients. We've got 2 big Australian clients. This is something which is disruptive. This is the way into the future. I gave you this example of mobile store. Again, it's a store, as we said, which is part of our group. And they had a major problem, and I was on their board for many years. And their disruption is equally interesting, and I thought maybe I should share that. So there are 600 stores, brick and mortar stores. Lots of people, and they want stores in good locations. So lots of people go to the stores, take a look at the products, and in front of the store manager or one of those, they're on the net and they're looking at the same price on Flipkart or Amazon or wherever, which is much cheaper, and they say, okay, they just want to see the product. So the mobile store is becoming a great display unit. Everybody is fantastic. People are coming and seeing, free of cost, which is the product, which is the brand, and then, they weren't even going home. In front of the store guy, they're saying they were ordering from others. I said, look, if you can't, we will join them. So what these guys did is first they said, okay, we will also be a partner with a Flipkart or Amazon or a Snap. So if they are getting discounts, we will also do the same. And now what the mobile store does, if you go to the mobile store and you're checking things, the guy will say, sir, there's the internet, and we've got an internet kiosk inside the store. He says, please check the price in Snapdeal or Flipkart, and we will match that price. Because they have now become a partner. These are all seller communities, which is a Flipkart or Amazon. So they are able to sell at the same price. But what they also do is they say, look, will you buy accessories? you buy some of the other stuff. Typically when you go, you will buy a cover, you will buy an accessory, you will buy insurance, and the margins of those are very high. So A, he's matched this thing, and he's able to sell it. Then these guys did another thing. They said, okay, so people who are coming to the store, we're not going to let them go, we're going to sell them at the store. But they've also become partners of Flipkart and Amazon and all of that. But if you guys want to these sites, if you want to these sites, there are many, many sellers. How do you choose? How do you find out which one to go? You know, Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z, all selling the same product, particularly phones and many. And these guys came out with a concept called FED. FED is fast expert delivery, or they call it fastest expert delivery. Which means today if you order a mobile phone in general, it takes you 2-3 days for that mobile phone to come. But these guys said that in some 190 cities in India, we give you 2 hours. That's how we said they differentiate from the rest. For that, you're going to pay a little more, but the mobile phone will come in 2 hours. And what they did is experts. So they said, look, we won't get just some people to deliver, we'll get people who know. People who understand about the phone to come to your house. And they've done a lot of interesting stuff. So before somebody comes to your house, there'll be messages and beep and the photograph of that person. Because in India now with all the law and order and people get worried who's coming to your house. So they have actually the photo of this guy. That Mr. X is coming, Mr. Y is coming. So you say, okay. Number 2, Mr. X and Y is pretty well educated. So what he's doing is that he's, for example, saying, can I move all your contacts to this new phone? Which is something all of us want to do. Some of us don't know how to do it. So they said, look, A, we will convert this brick and mortar into a brick and mortar, but we will also convert it to be part of this whole e-commerce platform. So we will match the price which is there in e-commerce. And secondly, because there are some 20 e-commerce partners selling phones on Flipkart or Snapdeal or Junglee or whatever it is, we will be different to that FED concept. So if you go into the sites, if you go to Junglee today, you will find a mobile store and say 2 hours delivery or 1 hour delivery or something like that. So you have again differentiated yourself. And that's exactly what you need to do. You need to transform yourself based on all of this. So therefore the question is, and this is the question we put to ourselves, we put to our clients, we put that you want to be a digital dinosaur, which means you're living in the past. If you want to be a digital immigrant, which means you just come in, or do you want to be a native, like many our kids. My daughter is very young, but she's an expert. So therefore the question is that today with all the disruption happening, are you going to be part of that community? Or are you still going to bury your head in the sand and are you going to be like an ostrich? Now the other question we had is that, look, how, this is again, I've given an Aegis example. I don't know if you can read everything, but I'm going to read it out for you. What are the key ingredients for fostering this culture? If you want to be digital, you've got to foster a culture of innovation. You've got to get this thing, it just won't happen by itself. We've not transformed ourselves from a contact center company to an analytics company to a social media company, as well as to a litmus kind of company just by itself. And what we've done is, we've said, look, it's very important that you reward ideas. You look at ideas, and you look at ideas not just top down but from bottom up. So any idea, and particularly we encourage our frontline people to give ideas, they are the ones talking with customers. Any idea is welcome, we look at it and we reward it. We reward it in the sense is that even if we don't adopt it, we are able to give you an acknowledgement and say, look, good thinking. And these ideas, we want them to come not just top down but bottom up. We've created innovation cells, which are people who are really looking at the future, looking at what is to be done, are looking at artificial intelligence, looking at automation, looking at machine learning, looking at all of that. And you must have a vision that this is what I want to do. So our vision is today we want to be at the forefront of the new digital revolution. And we need to do what it takes. And all of that includes collaboration, it includes partnership with others, because alone we may not be able to do everything on our own, which is why we partner with startups, we're partnering with other companies. And therefore when you look at this grid, you've got to do a few things. You need not necessarily do all. Can you foster collaboration? Can you reward contribution? Can you look at ideas? Can you employ technology as an enabler, not just as a support? If you are able to look at all this, you will be able to survive, you will be able to thrive in the disruption environment. Otherwise, you will get disrupted. So therefore, you have two choices. One is, you want to be a dinosaur, you want to bury your head in the sand, and this is a boardroom of an American company or any company in the world says, we need to rethink our strategy of hoping that the internet will just go away. Now, obviously, the internet will not just go away, and therefore, what you need to do to ensure that we are at the forefront of this disruption. I'll give you another example. We talked about business models. We've completely changed a lot of business models. Something that you can relate to Amazon. So we're doing a lot of work for Amazon in South Africa, for example, and our entire model is based on various outcomes that we will do for Amazon. Not just in terms of sales. And of course, if the customer is buying and we're getting up with that. Today we want to predict. So what does Amazon say? Let's say a person like you or me, we're spending, let's take any amount. You say I spent in a year 20 lakhs on all the stuff that I want to buy, or 30 lakhs, or 10 lakhs, whatever number. Amazon says I can meet 90% of your things. You possibly will not buy a car from Amazon. You might still go and look at the car, but 90% of the stuff that you want is available there. So they are saying, and they're looking at purchasing. They're saying, why does this guy purchase 1,000 rand or 500 rupees when 90% of what he wants I can do it. So our goal is how do we get to that 90%? If we can get to that 90%, if you exactly know what you're buying, then you're buying, why you're buying. Those are the outcomes that they're looking at. And we are saying, fine, we'll work with you on those outcomes and reward us on those outcomes. So that's how this model is changing. So it's changing on the work of the outcomes. It is changing when you're digitizing the entire experience. It is changing when you're looking at big data and looking at analysis. It is changing when you're doing social media. So we have a social media product called Lisa. Lisa is listen, interact, etc., etc. But Lisa is just a nice name given around it. What it does is, of course, any company, let's say XLR, it will go through all the web, or it'll have a crawler, it will go through whatever the web XLR has mentioned, and it will give you the comments. But that's the easy part. And then it uses a lot of data to then get into what are people saying in terms of intensity, what are people saying in terms of numbers, what are people saying which will make a material difference, what are people saying which is fine, which is good to know, what are people saying in terms of age group. In Twitter, what we do is that we even go a step further, and let's say that you have 1 million Twitter followers and he has 10,000 Twitter followers. Both of you are important, but the 1 million guy is more important. So we actually are able to even look at, give a Twitter rating score to each person. So we are doing some work for British Airways, and many of you knew that there was some match in the US, and Sachin was coming back from the US to, he had a lot of extra luggage, and he told British Airways, look, I've got a lot of luggage, I'm coming back, and they said, look, who are you, and what do you do? And he tweeted. And we were doing some other work for British Airways, not the social media work, and we immediately pointed out to them, look, this is going to be because of the kind of response that we're getting from the others, the fact that Sachin is willing to do this, we give it a score. I think this is an important comment, right? We were not doing the follow-up. We know they did something, but those are the things that we've got to look at. Those are the things that we've got to move. So if you bury your hand in the sand, you have a problem. And as Brian saw, as the guy who got this digital Darwinism, which is the beginning of the talk, said, disruption is either going to happen to you or because of you. And obviously what you want is that disruption should happen because of you, and it's not going to happen to you. So you don't want to be the Nokias of the world, the Kodaks of the world, the Barnes and Nobles of the world, but you want to be the Ubers of the world, the Airbnbs of the world. And again, that whole story of competition that we talked about. I mean, did any hotel say their competition, Hilton would say the competition would be Marriott, or it would be Intercontinental, but they never thought the competition would be Airbnb. Or car companies, taxi companies never thought that Uber would be competition. So the question